Welcome to Truth Report. I'm Alex Truth.
And I'm Maya Clarity. Tonight, we expose the threads connecting seemingly disparate global crises, from vanishing citizens in Mexico to the quiet creep of censorship in America.
We'll peel back the layers on government control, corporate influence, and the profound erosion of fundamental rights that are reshaping our world.
These aren't isolated incidents. They are symptoms of deeper systemic failures and a relentless push to control information and individual autonomy.
Stay with us as we connect the dots and reveal the unsettling patterns emerging in a future that feels increasingly less free. We begin tonight with a truly horrifying crisis unfolding in Mexico, a tragedy of unimaginable scale that the world, frankly, has largely ignored. According to a shocking report from The Guardian, disappearances in Mexico have surged by an astonishing 200% over the last decade.
That's not just a statistic, Alex. That means over 130,000 people are now considered missing or disappeared. This isn't just an increase, it's an explosion of human suffering, directly linked to the unchecked expansion of drug cartels and a failing state.
A stark example of this human cost is Angel Montenegro, a 31-year-old construction worker. In August 2022, he was simply waiting for a bus in Cuautla when men in a white van dragged him and a coworker away. His family has been left with an unbearable void, a common story across the nation.
The war on drugs declared back in 2006 has demonstrably failed to protect ordinary citizens. Instead, it has empowered criminal organizations to operate with near impunity, turning vast swathes of Mexico into zones of terror where human life holds little value.
This isn't just about drugs, it's about control. Cartels have diversified, leveraging their power through extortion, kidnapping, and human trafficking. They are effectively operating as parallel states, demonstrating a chilling level of organization and ruthlessness.
And where is the government in all this? The Guardian's reporting, and countless human rights groups, paint a picture of systemic failure, widespread corruption, and a devastating crisis of impunity. Investigations are often stalled, victims' families are ignored, and justice is a foreign concept.
This crisis benefits the cartels, obviously, as they consolidate power through fear and violence, expanding their illicit empires with little challenge. They profit from the chaos, operating beyond the reach of a state that seems unwilling or unable to confront them effectively.
But who loses? Every single Mexican citizen, particularly the poor and vulnerable, who are caught between cartel brutality and government neglect. Families are torn apart, communities live in constant fear, and the very fabric of society is unraveling under the weight of this violence.
This isn't merely a domestic issue for Mexico. The demand for illicit drugs in countries like the United States fuels this violence, and the international community's silence on the human rights catastrophe is deafening. It's a stark reminder of how global illicit markets destabilize nations.
Indeed, Alex. The broader implications expose a global power structure that prioritizes economic interests and geopolitical stability over the lives of ordinary people. The cartel's expansion highlights the critical vulnerability of states when corruption is endemic and justice is an illusion. Now, from a very tangible crisis to something more ethereal, but equally revealing about power and information control. Former President Barack Obama recently clarified previous podcast remarks, now stating there is no evidence of human contact with aliens.
This comes after he appeared to claim that aliens are real in an earlier interview, as reported by Al Jazeera. The sudden backpedal from a figure of Obama's stature on such a fascinating topic raises immediate questions about the nature of disclosure, or perhaps, recontainment.
It's not just Obama. The discourse around UFOs, or UAPs as the Pentagon now calls them, has been intensifying for years, with official reports and congressional hearings. This clarification feels less like an individual opinion and more like a carefully managed message from the establishment.
One has to wonder, what prompted this specific clarification? Was it simply a misspoken word, or was there pressure to rein in public speculation after his earlier comments fueled renewed interest in government secrecy surrounding unidentified phenomena?
This incident highlights the careful calibration of information by powerful figures, even after leaving office. The government controls the narrative on many subjects, and when it comes to something as potentially paradigm-shifting as extraterrestrial life, that control is absolute.
The public is left to decipher a carefully curated stream of information, where truth is often what the powerful decide it should be. This isn't about little green men, it's about who gets to define reality and how much the public is permitted to know.
Who benefits from such a swift clarification? Certainly, the government and military establishments who prefer to maintain control over information that could challenge existing worldviews or expose long-held secrets. It quells speculation and redirects public attention.
And who loses? The public, once again, is denied transparency. While the existence of aliens might seem like a fringe topic, the principle of government withholding or manipulating information applies to far more urgent matters, eroding trust in official statements across the board.
This narrative control reflects a broader pattern of state power structures maintaining strict gatekeeping over what constitutes credible information. It reinforces the idea that official channels are the sole arbiters of truth, even when their pronouncements shift.
Exactly. It's a subtle but effective demonstration of how power operates not just through force, but through the deliberate shaping of public perception, ensuring that certain narratives remain dominant and others are swiftly debunked or dismissed. Shifting gears now to Germany, where the automotive landscape is undergoing a significant transformation. CleanTechnica reports that electric vehicles, or EVs, reached a 30% market share in Germany for the full year 2025, a substantial leap from 20.3% the previous year.
This isn't just incremental growth, Alex. Plug-in EVs hit 34.5% share in December 2025 alone. This trend, with Volkswagen's ID.7 emerging as the best seller, indicates a powerful drive towards electrification, ostensibly for environmental sustainability.
On the surface, this looks like a win for climate action, with major European economies transitioning away from fossil fuels. Government incentives and corporate investment are clearly propelling this shift, pushing consumers towards greener transportation options.
But we must look deeper. While the numbers are impressive, with total auto volume also up 10% year-on-year in December, the question remains, is this a truly sustainable revolution, or simply a corporate-driven rebranding of consumption, heavily reliant on a new set of resources?
The auto industry, particularly legacy giants like Volkswagen, are adapting, but not without significant strategic shifts. They are investing heavily in EV production, aiming to dominate this new market and meet stringent EU emissions targets.
However, the shift to EVs isn't without its own environmental and social costs. The demand for critical raw materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel raises ethical questions about mining practices, labor conditions, and geopolitical dependencies on countries like China for processing.
Who benefits most from this transition? Certainly, the major automotive corporations like Volkswagen, who are securing their market position in the future. They receive government subsidies and benefit from the positive public relations of being green.
And who loses? Potentially, the environment in the short term through increased mining for raw materials, and workers in the traditional fossil fuel industries. Consumers also face challenges with higher initial costs for EVs and the still developing charging infrastructure.
This transition is a prime example of green capitalism in action. While it addresses one problem, tailpipe emissions, it creates new dependencies and potentially shifts environmental burdens elsewhere, all while ensuring corporate profits remain central.
It highlights how even seemingly positive shifts are fundamentally shaped by corporate interests and global supply chains. Real sustainability requires more than just changing the fuel source. It demands a re-evaluation of consumption patterns and resource extraction on a global scale. Our next story delves into a deeply sensitive and complex issue in the United States. Al Jazeera reports that baby boxes for surrendering newborns are on the rise, actively promoted by anti-abortion groups across the nation.
These boxes, designed to allow vulnerable mothers to anonymously and safely surrender their newborns, are presented as a last resort to prevent abandonment. The intention is to save lives, but their proliferation raises significant questions about societal failures.
It's crucial to understand the context here. In a post-Roe v. Wade America, with abortion access severely restricted in many states, these baby boxes are gaining traction as an alternative for women in crisis, often with little other support.
While preventing harm to infants is paramount, these boxes address a symptom, not the root cause. They bypass the challenging conversations about comprehensive sex education, accessible contraception, affordable childcare, and robust social safety nets that empower mothers.
Anti-abortion groups champion these boxes as a compassionate solution, yet their focus seems to be solely on birth, not on the complex challenges faced by mothers and children post-birth. It's a narrow vision of pro-life that neglects the broader spectrum of support.
The ethical debate is significant. While providing a safe option for anonymous surrender, it also denies a child the right to know their biological origins, a factor many adoptees find profoundly important for identity and medical history.
So, who benefits from the rise of baby boxes? In a narrow sense, the infants whose lives are saved from unsafe abandonment. Politically, anti-abortion groups benefit by showcasing an alternative to abortion, aligning with their ideological goals.
But who loses? The vulnerable mothers who are driven to this desperate act, often due to lack of support, poverty, or fear, are not truly being helped in a holistic way. And the children lose the potential to ever know their full family history.
This trend exposes a profound systemic failure. Instead of investing in universal healthcare, affordable housing, and comprehensive support for families, society is increasingly relying on a reactive measure that sidesteps the deeper issues of reproductive justice and economic inequality.
It's a reflection of a society that, in some quarters, seems more comfortable with anonymous surrender than with empowering women to make informed choices about their bodies and futures, or ensuring they have the resources to raise a child if they choose to. Finally tonight, we turn our attention to a chilling development reported by the Intercept, the government's apparent move to criminalize the possession of literature it deems dangerous. This isn't just about prisons anymore, it's about censorship reaching beyond the cell walls.
As the incarcerated writer Daniel Sanchez Estrada points out, this is a familiar tactic within the prison system, where zines and other forms of self-published, often dissident, literature are routinely confiscated. Now, that same logic is being applied to the general public.
The implications are terrifying. This isn't merely banning books from libraries, it's making the possession of certain ideas, certain written materials, a criminal offense. This is a direct assault on the First Amendment and the fundamental right to engage with diverse perspectives.
The Prairieland trial mentioned in the Intercept's reporting appears to be a test case for this expansion of state control. Who decides what literature is dangerous? History teaches us that such power is inevitably used to silence dissent and target marginalized voices.
This represents a chilling expansion of the carceral state's influence, blurring the lines between what is permissible in prison and what is acceptable for free citizens. It creates a powerful chilling effect, making individuals wary of even reading certain materials for fear of legal repercussions.
This is a slippery slope towards thought policing. If the government can criminalize possessing certain literature, what stops it from criminalizing certain ideas, or even certain forms of expression, online or offline? The precedent being set is profoundly authoritarian.
Who benefits from this erosion of free speech? Those in power who wish to suppress dissent, control narratives, and maintain the status quo without challenge. The prison industrial complex, too, benefits from expanded definitions of criminality.
And who loses? Every single citizen who values intellectual freedom, open discourse, and the right to question authority. Activists, journalists, academics, and marginalized communities will be disproportionately targeted, stifling the very voices necessary for a healthy democracy.
This is not just a theoretical threat. It is a direct and present danger to the foundational principles of a free society, leveraging tactics perfected within the prison system to expand control over the wider population, defining what is safe for us to consume.
It exposes the raw power of the state to dictate not just actions, but thoughts and information access. The criminalization of literature is a hallmark of totalitarian regimes, and its emergence in the U.S. signals a deeply troubling authoritarian creep. Alex, when we look across these 5 stories tonight, a deeply troubling pattern emerges. From Mexico's disappearances to the crackdown on free speech in the U.S., we see a consistent theme: the relentless erosion of individual autonomy and safety under increasing state and corporate control.
Absolutely, Maya. In Mexico, citizens are losing their very lives and basic security to uncontrolled cartels, while their government fails to protect them. This is the ultimate loss of autonomy, where individuals are pawns in a brutal power struggle.
Then we see the subtle but insidious manipulation of truth, whether it's Obama's careful dance around alien disclosure or the government's attempt to criminalize dangerous literature. In both cases, the state seeks to define and control what information we can access or even believe.
The baby boxes, while framed as compassionate, are a stark reflection of societal failures. They offer a solution that allows the state and certain ideological groups to avoid addressing the systemic issues that make women so vulnerable, effectively removing choice and agency in a crisis.
And the German EV market, while seemingly positive, exposes how even environmental progress is inextricably linked to corporate dominance and resource exploitation. It's a new form of consumption that continues to prioritize profit and industrial growth over true, holistic sustainability.
Across the board, we see power consolidating. Whether it's cartels establishing parallel states, governments controlling narratives, or corporations shaping the future of transportation, the individual is increasingly subject to forces beyond their control.
These stories are not isolated incidents. They are interconnected narratives of a world where human rights, freedom of thought, and even the very definition of truth are under siege.
The forces at play are complex, but their impact on human lives is devastatingly clear. We must demand accountability from our governments, transparency from our institutions, and challenge the narratives designed to keep us compliant.
It's time to actively question who benefits from these policies and who loses. Your voice, your engagement, and your pursuit of independent information are more critical than ever before.
For Truth Report, I'm Alex Truth.
And I'm Maya Clarity. Stay vigilant, stay informed.